Absolute Superman faced off against Absolute Hawkman and basically showed the man what a real hero is. Absolute Superman issues 15 to 17 was a very nice mini-arc that showed us more of, well, Clark, aka Kal-El, being Superman, his daily life in Smallville now, and him interacting with the Absolute version of Hawkman that was introduced back in Absolute Evil. Their diverging views on basically justice, and we had a really big fight, and it showed us what Superman means to other people, especially in the Absolute Universe now. Needless to say, this was a very, very good arc. Before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hype up the video. Lets me know you guys enjoy what I make on the channel and shows you want to see more videos like this in the future. And I'm going to be trying to do a bunch of more stuff on more recent arcs of the Absolute titles. Next up is going to be Absolute Flash. And once we get a bit more of Absolute Wonder Woman, I'm going to try and do the most recent arc of Absolute Wonder Woman once that finishes, because that book has been fantastic. But let me know if I'm going to cover previous arcs of these books as well. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff to work with going on with Absolute DC, so look forward to more of that stuff in the future. With that out of the way, let's just jump right into this video. So issue 15 gives us basically the daily life of Kal, now with his civilian identity of Clark Kent, in his daily life. And it's just a really nice issue, giving us what Clark has been doing after the Lazarus incident and taking down Ra's al Ghul and basically taking him out and putting him in prison to face all of his crimes that he has done over the years. This entire issue is just Superman going around helping people in every aspect of the world. Going to help sick kids, stop natural disasters, save people in any way that he possibly can. And it's also a nice little bit where Lana keeps stopping by to like give him food, but because of his Kryptonian biology and the way he absorbs solar radiation, he doesn't really sleep much or even really need to eat, so he just ends up every day just constantly flying away to save people. And also gives us a little small funny bit of Superman trying to fix up the tractor in the Kent family farm, and he is taking up residence in the Kent family farm, basically making that his home and his own fortress, but he's been trying to fix one singular tractor for like, I think, weeks, if not months at a time, but he hasn't been able to fix it due to the constant way of him going back and forth of saving people and helping people out. And I don't want to deprive you of reading this issue yourself, because there are some genuinely heart-touching moments, like one where he's with a kid whose life is about to end, and he brings him up to see the sunset, and it is just a very beautiful thing to witness, and a very Superman thing to do. And that's basically what issue 15 is. Absolute Superman really coming into his own as Superman, giving people that sense of hope, becoming that symbol of hope after everything he did in Smallville. And everyone in Smallville obviously loves him. And it's his home now, so that's honestly really nice and that's great. All while Lois and Jimmy are off doing their own thing on the sidelines. And in between him saving people, he spends time at Ra's al Ghul's prison cell, reading him basically all these different types of poetry, mantras, letters, given to Superman to read when it comes to like the citizens, the kids, everyone, about all of Ra's crimes, and even just like mercy, forgiveness, all that stuff. And you see gradually as Ra's just doesn't care, tells him to F off, doesn't want to, well, understand anybody that's below him. But as this goes on, you see quickly, without the Lazarus pit, he is quickly, gradually aging, and we see him slowly but surely just turn into an old man who begins to see the error of his ways. We're literally seeing Superman have an effect to rehabilitate, in a sense, or give like the essence of remorse and the idea of redemption and mercy to Ra's al Ghul. Like, that's an insane thing to really think about. And this character is usually a Batman villain. Making him a Superman villain was a really interesting choice, and it worked out amazingly. And this storyline isn't done just yet, because with everything going on in issue 15, we transition into issue 16 with the cliffhanger of Absolute Hawkman intercepting Superman, telling them they need to talk. And this is where the main conflict and just big ideological differences between these two characters is the center focus, because issue 16 is primarily Hawkman trying to get Superman on his side, trying to convince him that what he's doing, being out in the open, doing all these big things, won't really matter, and that he's found people like him before, saw them crumble and cease to exist, essentially, be forgotten like they never existed in the first place. And he really tries to get Superman to understand where he's coming from. But in terms of Hawkman, he literally works for the corrupt elite, essentially. You see it throughout these issues that he is someone that has been broken down, someone who has thought of doing good, but has been kind of broken down by the system in place where evil, corruption, and all that takes priority. And so he has to skew things to legitimately do like a whole ends justify the means type scenarios to kind of win the day and do what essentially is viewed as the best option. And that since all this darkness can't be fully fought and defeated, he literally tells Superman to work with the darkness, essentially. Even telling him to work with Lazarus Core. As Superman is like, you want me to work with the people that kidnapped me, try to brainwash me and turn me into a mass murderer, and try to wipe off an entire town off the face of the earth in a literal genocide to try and get me to be their personal weapon. You want me to do that? Are you insane? And Hawkman is trying to go through all these mental gymnastics to try and convince Superman to do all this. But I do like this little bit of a bit that was going on throughout their conversation, that Superman kept leaving and coming back to do just any type of help or saving for anybody that he hears with his superheroing across the planet. And it gets Hawkman so annoyed that I absolutely love it. One of the few times where I think having some sort of bit in a serious conversation really helps level out the tones to a degree. But despite all that, Superman is basically like not wanting to do anything regarding Lazarus Core. He knows what they have done and all the crap they have put so many innocent people through over the years. He's seen it firsthand. But Hawkman, so broken down by everything that he's seen over the years, just does not see any other way and is trying to convince Superman, otherwise he's threatening to take him out. He thinks of himself incredibly highly. But right as he's trying to convince Superman, you gotta learn to work with them, he's like, wait, you're about to run off again, aren't you? I told you don't run off on me. And Superman's like, yeah, about that. And then he runs off, but uses his cape to latch onto Hawkman to pull him alongside him because he heard something going on. And once they make it to Metropolis, Hawkman's like, okay, I've had enough of this kid. And he just whacks him with his mace, breaking into a parking lot, and the two of them start to fight as Superman's trying to get him to hold off. But Superman is doing a pretty decent job at holding him off, but Hawkman still manages to survive some of these blows, until eventually they come face to face with the actual threat of what's going on and is facing the entire city of Metropolis. And that is absolute Parasite just absorbing so many different people and causing insane terror. And I love this design. It's so monstrous and nightmarish that it fits right in with the Absolute universe, and it also shows that outside of Absolute Brainiac, Superman is also having his own nightmare monsters to have to fight, going here and there, like what's going on with Absolute Batman. But that's where the issue essentially ends, but there's another storyline I'll get into towards the end of this cover-up. But you might be wondering, hey, why is Absolute Parasite just attacking people? Well, one of the peacemakers under Talia's employ goes to a transport from Lazarus Core that's taking a bunch of their weapons and everything from their main office in Metropolis, basically blasts open a tank that had these parasites in it, and then it latched onto one of the soldiers, and then it just, as Parasite would do, zap their life force and just grow and grow and grow, but it seems like it absorbs people each and every time. Which gives us right into issue 17, which is primarily the fight of Absolute Hawkman and Absolute Superman versus Absolute Parasite. And we see multiple instances of this thing absorbing people, but Superman is hearing the people inside, and Hawkman just wants to eliminate it and is like, yeah, screw this. Yeah, he's absorbing people, but hey, there's no other way to break it out. We have to, break a few eggs to make an omelet. Necessary sacrifice and all that, despite Superman telling him not to do so. But during these issues, Lois and Jimmy were going to get new jobs, and Lois ended up joining the now very downgraded Daily Planet, and unfortunately Perry White in this universe just basically quit and lost his job, got a new opening, and Jimmy got it, and now Lois got a job, so now she's entering the reporter stage of this. But it's then when Absolute Parasite shows up, and Jimmy gets absorbed and Lois gets absorbed. And once that happens, Superman hears Lois in just screaming in terror as she's getting absorbed by Parasite. And Superman goes and manages to pull her out. And after getting her to safety, Superman and Hawkman end up having an argument over what to do with Absolute Parasite. And Lois says something that basically adds into the emphasis in the importance of Superman in any given universe, or just fiction in general. And that's the fact that Lois was let go by Parasite because when she heard Superman's voice, she knew everything would be okay. She wasn't scared anymore because he gave her hope and she trusted him. Meaning, the key to Parasite absorbing people and growing stronger by feeding off of them is fear. It feeds on fear. It's not just on human energy, but the fear is what causes it to latch onto people. So as it goes through Metropolis and it expands and expands and expands, it's finding their fear and just absorbing them into itself to make itself more powerful. And so, essentially, Superman's like, okay, I can work with this. I can save them. Give me 5 minutes. I like how he just runs off, flies off with a smile saying, give me 5 minutes. I can handle this. Even with Hawkman in the background just saying, what are you talking about? There's millions of people in that thing. Are you really gonna save them by holding hands and singing Kumbaya and all that stuff? And obviously, this guy is incredibly jaded. But still, it is at least a solid plan that doesn't involve Hawkman going in to try and kill an entire semblance of people. Now, Parasite latches on to Superman, and Hawkman's like, damn it, I told you so, and then tries to go in, but he gets pulled in as well. And while she's seeing this go on, Lois just says for Superman to just be himself, he can do this. And this issue just had a bunch of double-page spreads splashed out with multiple really beautifully illustrated panels. But what I do like is this one double-page spread that shows Hawkman's head, and it's being split up into multiple panels divided by Parasite's veins, as we see Connor Hawk literally haunted by the sins of his past. Everybody that he has ever killed, he is broken and he is haunted by this. It keeps him up at night. And we see Superman break into his mindscape to pull him out. And I do like how Clark does look a lot younger in this, as it shows his more childlike optimism, showcasing his roots from Krypton. He was just a kid and his parents raised him right. And he still has those more optimistic views and things. And I just like whenever we get the depictions of characters in the mind. And Connor Hawk looks like he was at the beginning of issue 17 when he found the mace that gave him his power. I'm going to touch on that later. But yeah, basically Superman frees him and even gets up into Connor's face and tells him, okay, I'm very different from you. Tell the people that you're working for what I'm about to tell you. And we'll learn what happens later on. And in that instance, boom, Parasite explodes. As we see Superman save everybody that is released from Parasite as they land on the ground, with Hawkman just in utter shock, awe, and surprise that Superman did it. He saved everybody just by his sheer presence, by giving them all a sense of reassurance as he's now on the ground catching his breath real quick after everything that just happened. And so all Superman says, surrounded by the people that he saved, and says, I don't know, I'm Superman. I do the impossible. We then learn shortly afterwards that the Parasite was an alien creature that Brainiac in Lazarus has been experimenting with. It just caused an insane amount of trauma to the point where it only looked to feed on terror and fear so it would grow and gain power, as it didn't want to be alone, preying on that loneliness, breaking it. And yeah, that is very, very twisted, and something you would expect from this version of Brainiac especially. But with that out of the way, Superman just decides to take it back to his fortress and just give this Parasite thing a little bit of extra of his own energy every day to bring it back up to strength and to try and heal it from what Brainiac did to it mentally. That way he can find a way to bring it back home later on. And I just love the image of Superman looking down this thing while Jimmy's taking a picture with his trusty hand camera and Lois is looking over as well. Just the trio of Superman, Lois, and Jimmy. I love seeing that in the Absolute Universe, getting a sense of like, okay, we're getting a different version of what we had in the main line, but it's just nice to see. But Hawkman goes up to Superman and just wants to talk to him and just, well, congratulate him and all that stuff, but Superman gets him in his face and just tells him to give a message to the people that he works for, reminding him what he said in the Mindscape, saying, I don't sleep, and nothing they have can hurt me. Tell them my senses stretch for miles and I'm as strong as the sun. And tell them I'm coming. And to tell them that Superman is not for sale, as he flies off with Hawkman just calling Talia, saying that they have a problem. Now, over the course of these 3 issues, Talia has set up Parasite as a distraction so that she can break into the prison holding her father and free him. But she's in disbelief over what happened to Raish, during this incarceration period without the Lazarus Pit, and just everything with visiting Superman and listening to all the letters and poems from all the different people, as he slowly seems to get some sort of sense of, I wouldn't say redemption, like I said earlier, more so perspective on everything that he's done, reflection. But Talia convinces him to leave, as he leaves a letter saying, "I'm sorry, Superman, but some people can't fight their nature," as it seems that Ra's is going to go back with Talia and become who he was previously to try and build up his case once more. And that's a shame. But hey, that also shows that Ra's is going to be a villain that isn't going away anytime soon. So I'm curious to see how this whole thing has affected him as a character moving forward. Now, really quick, I liked that at the beginning of issue 17, we actually got to see bits of Connor Hawke's origin. They enter a tomb, and it's basically setting up for Absolute Black Adam that I believe is going to show up in issue 18 of Absolute Superman, but he grabs a mace, and it gave him his wings and power with the nth metal, and basically the person that he was with was a German from World War II, a spy, wanting to sell this stuff to the highest bidder, essentially. So he kills his research partner because he doesn't want him to give this stuff to the enemy, flies up into the air covered in blood, and that's basically how he ends up working for the US government and then all these corrupt organizations as the years go by. Very short, very sweet, and gives us at least an inkling of Hawkman's past and sets us up for potentially even more in-depth backstory to see more of what he had to do, and reinforced by the mental scape of him just trying to convince himself that everybody he killed had to die for the status quo and the way of the world that's set in stone. But then this little mini arc ends as we had each of these issues setting up Brainiac, Absolute Brainiac, after the events of Absolute Evil, and the end of the Son of the Demon arc before this one in Absolute Superman, went to look for Lex Luthor to recruit him into the Absolute Justice League because they needed somebody to help balance everything out. And with his knowledge of the mainline universe, thanks to the Mirror Master of the mainline universe and Absolute Mirror Master going between both universes of the mainline and Absolute, he figured Lex Luthor would be the best candidate. But this Lex Luthor is happy. He lives out in the countryside, he's got a farm, he's got a wife and kids, he's happy. And Brainiac appears to him looking like mainline Lex Luthor, trying to offer a job opportunity and stuff like that. But Lex, Absolute Lex, doesn't agree. He turns it down, essentially. And so, after hearing this, Brainiac's like, okay, whatever, shows him who he is, unveils a bunch of chainsaws, and at the end of this mini arc, we see that he just killed everybody Absolute Lex loved and cared about right in front of him. He could do nothing to see it, and he's hoping that this breaks Lex to become the monster that he should, so he can join the Absolute Justice League. Now, this can either lead into Absolute Lex Luthor being a villain, or being a revenge-filled anti-hero in this universe. But despite all that, things have been set in motion, and Lex Luthor has basically been broken and tortured, losing everything to Brainiac. So, yeah, that's it. But that's basically this entire mini-arc with Absolute Hawkman and Absolute Parasite, and sets up the future for the following arcs of this story. Absolute Superman basically declares war on Talia and basically the entire Absolute Justice League at this point against Hawkman, and shows Hawkman what a real hero is capable of doing, while also showing us the inspirational and hopeful effect Superman has on other people to reassure them that they will be okay. Talia breaks out Ra's out of prison and basically seems to stop any potential character arc or redemption or whatever for Ra's to bring him back to his old ways. And Brainiac does a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so yeah, we got that as well. But overall, this is a really fun mini arc. I really enjoy talking about it. I can't wait to talk about more Absolute Superman going forward. Maybe when the next arc is done, I'll make a whole video on it, or if some big stuff happens, I'll let you guys know. And let me know if you want to talk about the last few arcs of Absolute Superman to make videos on. I will love to talk about those as well. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps. It shows you guys enjoy it and make it on the channel. It shows you want to see more. And look forward to more of these videos in the future.